Hello family, my name is Ella and I am the Director of Research and Events. I have been with Family First for the past 3 years and it is one of the greatest privileges of my life. I love being part of an organisation that has been a long-standing voice advocating for strong marriages, strong families and Christian values. It is an absolute joy to be part of a team that is centred on faith in Christ, prayer and mission. Reaching 20 years in 2026 is definitely a testimony to God's faithfulness and our enduring relevance. We have remained resilient through the challenges and opposition, and by God's grace we will continue to speak truth to the culture and continue to stand firmly for strong marriages, strong families and our Christian values. Thank you for your ongoing and faithful support, prayers and encouragement over the years. It definitely has been a blessing to us all. God bless you all.
Hey, good job, Ella. We love having Ella on staff because she does all the research, does the reads on our website, which are really important because some of you just like to read articles. And also she's been overseeing the old counterculture that we've just launched. So she's the big boss and she's the mama bear, and we need mama bears on our staff, so we're glad to have her. And we love having you as part of our ministry as well. 20 years, it's really significant, and we want you to join the team. If you'd like to invest in something that really contributes to a strong voice for families, then please join us. familyfirst.org.nz/donations, familyfirst.org.nz/donations, and be part of the team. Thanks, Ella.
Good morning everyone on this actually lovely morning where I am. It's actually, the sun is coming up, it is lovely, but I see from the early comments it's not the same all around the country. But welcome to Solid Ground, lovely to have you here. I think this is the 122nd episode, which I still find quite remarkable. I've said it a few times before. When Bob and I first talked about this, you never quite know where a show's going to go or how it's going to be anticipated, but here we are, 122 shows later and growing. So look, thanks to all of you for joining. It's a live show, so if there are questions or thoughts you have in general, particularly of things happening around New Zealand, or you have comments as I'm speaking, put them into the chats. Now this streams across an array of platforms. Family First is almost everywhere. We even sometimes post to Blue Sky of all things, and TikTok, actually lots of times to TikTok. But if you're on Family First YouTube channel or its Facebook page, then those comments come directly to me here in the studio. If you're on my Facebook page, for example, or Instagram, welcome. It is lovely to have you here. I'll get to read those comments later. But as I say, if you have thoughts or comments, get in touch. Always love to respond and do the best that I can, because by the magic of the internet, I can do this, which is saying good morning to everyone from Edmund to Harrison. Lovely to have you guys along. We've got Darren there as well. Awake, not woke. Love it. It's lovely to have you along. We've got Rosie there saying it's a bit windy in Taupo. Lynette, good morning. We've got Robin. Oh gosh, Adrian, I'd love to have you back. Haven't seen you for a while, Adrian. Good morning. Oh, we've got Piles coming in now. I've lost control. We've got David there. Hello. And Colette in Saskatchewan and Canada. Well, welcome. Lovely to have you here. I've never actually been to Saskatchewan. I've managed to get to Ontario, been to Toronto and Ottawa, and actually I'm planning to go to. Sorry, I've just noticed Bernice is asking me to put the volume up, which I have done. I don't think I can do much more. If it's still bad, let me know, people. But no, I was just saying to Colette from Saskatchewan. Amazing. Yeah, I'm actually going to Vancouver. I know that's not Saskatchewan either. Later in the year, I just said Canada's an amazing place. Absolutely love it. Guys, there is so much to talk about today. Obviously, as we pointed out, we've got the 20 years strong. We, as in Family First, Bob in particular, has been going for 20 years. And there are some of the team. In fact, all of the team. Look at us all there. So, as we say, 20 years, thank you for all your support. We are using this as a drive and a fundraiser as well. So feel free to jump onto the Family First website and donate. Which is always very welcome. But yeah, 20 years, it's something to celebrate. And speaking of celebrating, this is someone who's probably very familiar to you, very familiar to me. I know Tova well from my political career. But she's been a mum recently. And in this article, talking about coming back onto the breakfast show and so forth, but she talks about how wonderful it is being a mum and having a baby. And I just think that's worth acknowledging and celebrating. I think it's one of the best things that can happen for people, particularly, if they've got different views around life issues. And to be fair, I don't know what Tova's were, but I just think it's lovely that she's speaking with such love about her child, and that actually the media is reporting it, which I think is absolutely excellent. In not so good news, you might remember on Tuesday, I was talking briefly about this $30,000 which the Taxpayer Union had discovered had been given to a Gaza lobbying group to basically promote a Gazan, and I would argue a pro-Hamas view of the conflict there. And it was via the Ministry for Ethnic Communities, which completely wrong. This is not how funds are meant to be spent. And I did make it really clear as well that the same would be true if this was funds for an Israeli group in New Zealand as well. It's just not appropriate. We do not fund political activism. What is interesting, though, is this. This same group, this same charitable trust, got $70,000 more through the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet and managed by Internal Affairs. I mean, those details aside, because, well, they're interesting at one level, but the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet had sent up a Preventing Violence and Extremism Fund. And so the hypocrisy of all of this, isn't it, people, that the DPMC, the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, gave $70,000 of the Preventing Extremism and Violence Fund, $70,000, to a group who are in effect supporting some of the views of, the Hamas Gazan situation. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that this was allowed to happen. But it also indicates to us that we have people deep in our bureaucracies who are committed to these causes and are more than happy to stomp all over the values which actually underpin our society. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. And as I say, it doesn't matter had this been a group on the other side. You are not meant to, and we should not be funding these groups with taxpayer monies. If they want to go about and support one side of the conflict from another, they fill their boots. They're welcome to do that. But at the same time, we should not be using taxpayer money. So $100,000 has been spent on it. Just absolutely ridiculous. And I actually talk about it in my latest On Point. I've literally only published it in the last hour or so, talking not only about this charitable trust and other behaviours, which I'm arguing that we shouldn't allow people to bring values in which undermine free speech. That's the critical point. I'm all for free speech, as you guys know. I think it's a really important position to have and to tolerate actually a wide range of views. But when those views are embodying values which do not support and strengthen free speech, then we need to act. And I reference again in that in this On Point, the Lower Hutt restaurant owner who had put down the Israeli and American flags on the floor, which he's welcome to do. That's distasteful for me. But he's a man who also put up the picture of the Ayatollah, the man who oversaw a regime which killed almost 40,000 people in a matter of a few days. And by the way, you notice that the pro-Palestinian crowds didn't say anything when more civilians were killed in less than a week than what had been impacted in the likes of Gaza. I mean, it's just the hypocrisy. But I just point out that we don't need people like that in this country who are pushing those views, because it ultimately undermines the free speech and the values that we all enjoy. And I also talk about the fuel crisis at the moment. So anyway, lots to read up on there, and I see piles and piles of comments coming through. Others are asking, aren't we paying... Well, Harrison says, why aren't we paying Israeli lobbyists? Well, we shouldn't be paying them as well either. That's my point. Government money should not be funding lobbyists, particularly for a foreign conflict. So we shouldn't be paying this Astrolab group, this charity in Christchurch, and nor should we be funding Israeli groups. It's just not what should be done. So I think that's important. And Lisa's asking, how do they get away with it? I just don't think there's enough oversight. And I think, unfortunately, Lisa, what we are seeing is in our bureaucracy capture. And so it's not just around issues like Gaza. I mean, the whole pro-Palestinian movement really is just an anti-West movement. It's why you have the ridiculousness of these Islamic fundamentalists and gay activists protesting together along with all the other collections of communists and socialists and the like. It's really just an anti-West push. They don't like the society and the civilization we've created, and this is the latest issue. But they are very much within our civil service, the same as those of very monological views around the treaty or climate change, for example, certainly around gender. Our public service is absolutely rife with people who think that you can just make up your sex and that women should have no protected rights. And so this is the problem that we have to push against. And it's the reason why Family First exists, amongst other reasons, is to actually speak into these issues. Switching to overseas, this is coming through. So Family First has been pushing for something to be done around under 16-year-olds accessing apps and social media. The harms are very, very clear, and you'll be familiar with the work of Jonathan Haidt. If you're not, look up the Family First podcast and read Jonathan's given us a lot of information. So Family First is clear that it's harmful, and we need to do something. And we've particularly been saying we need to put in app store checks. So I've mentioned it before, probably boring you guys to death around it. But every time you get a new cell phone and log in, say for Apple or Google, you need to actually verify who you are. And so we've been saying that's a natural choke point to actually get age verification off people. And yes, it would apply to everyone, because to know if someone's 15, we also need to know if someone's 54. But I think this can be done. We think this can be done at Family First in a way that is not digital ID. I think that's really, really important. But interestingly, in this space has been some development. So in the UK, Apple has been forced now to bring in age checks for its iPhone users. So something we'll be watching very closely. Clearly, there's people who are unhappy with that. But again, at Family First, we're relatively comfortable to protect our young people and to hold Sorry, my eyes just got caught from a comment around the civil service. Typical me getting distracted. We'll be watching how this works, but ultimately we need to hold big tech to account, and we need to protect our young ones. I am very aware of how something like this could slide and slip into wider elements of digital ID or control of the internet. It's one of the reasons why very unhappy with the Select Committee report that came out here in New Zealand a few weeks ago. Good elements to it, of course, but amongst other recommendations, wanting the likes of an internet commissioner, someone, God forbid, another apparatchik in the bureaucracy of government, and deemed to work out what we should and shouldn't be watching on the internet. But related to it, it's also, we are seeing overseas big tech, particularly here at the moment, Meta and TikTok, being held to account. They are losing lawsuits. This one here is not so much a lawsuit, but whistleblowers within both organisations. Well, you can see it in the headline, are saying, look, at Meta, so that's Facebook, Instagram, obviously TikTok, have been letting harmful content rise because it actually draws more people in, and the more people that are drawn in, the more money that they get. And so that's a real problem. There's been a win in New Mexico where Meta was ordered to pay, as you can see, that's 375 million US, so we're talking almost 800,000 New Zealand over child exploitation and safety claims. So long and short, they are losing court cases, and there are a number of whistleblowers. I think there was a case in New York where a young woman who, basically, her depressive episodes and anxieties are linked back to her social media use. So I think that's really, really important to be aware of, that the likes of Google, not Google, actually they'll be next though, but the likes of Meta, TikTok, are losing lawsuits. And this will have a flow-on effect in America and elsewhere, because it's going to force the big tech companies to do something. I see Brad says it's digital ID, and I'm trusting the same big tech. Well, sort of. It's not digital ID. Digital ID is far more comprehensive than an age verification or age estimation. I mean, digital ID is literally as much data about you tied to you, usually in a central source, usually government controlled. Something like age estimation is not. And I've got relative confidence in that. I think we do still need to do something. I do not believe that we can. I can see why people get hesitant, by the way. I'm not dismissing that. I don't like big tech. I'm big into my own privacy. As people know, I've had my emails targeted and hacked by a state actor, by the Chinese. I'm very much into privacy and security, and I'm also for small government. But I don't think we can just let the cowboys in the big tech run around continuing to do what they do, and us just saying, well, we just have to accept it, I think. And that may not be what Sam and others are suggesting, but if we don't regulate in some way, if we don't force the hand of big tech to do the most basic protections for children, I think we're causing massive harm, and we already are. We can see the harm. So I am very concerned if there was to be any creep. I don't want to see, as the Parliament was suggesting, some sort of internet commission. I mean, God help us. More people trying to tell us what we can and cannot do in life. So again, I just draw people's attention back to the App Store idea. As I say, it's a natural choke point. It's already where you have to provide data about yourself. And again, that's probably the other point, guys. We're always sharing data about ourselves. Every time you go to the supermarket, and if you do choose to swipe your New World Club card or whatever the one at Countdown is, every time you're swiping your credit card, all of this, you're being identified. And whether we like it or not, most of the cameras now that are on the streets, protecting us in inverted commas, that's got facial recognition software in the background. So I think it's not a choice between absolutely no identification systems to all of a sudden lots. We're already surrounded by them. Although I know a lot of people, it's one of the reasons people are quite keen to have a cashless society, and I think that's perfectly acceptable too. And good morning to Catherine. I will just let out a secret. I know that it's lovely down here in Tauranga because that's where I am at the moment. Don't tell anyone. Only kidding. Rachel and I have come down for a few days. It's absolutely lovely here after what was some terrible, terrible days. Now, where were some other... I'm so far down on them. I've got like 100 tiles of topics, so I'm losing track. I'm switching back to overseas, and you may have caught up with this. This is Päivi Räsänen. She's a Finnish MP, actually used to be a minister in the Finnish government, but she is and still remains an MP. She's just been found guilty by the Supreme Court of Finland under their war crimes legislation. Get this, for publishing a pamphlet 20 years ago around the Christian idea of marriage. She's been convicted for that. It was a pamphlet, say 20 years ago, discussing the Christian nature of marriage. That's between a man and a woman, exclusively for life. She's been found guilty of that, and this is a criminal charge for her and the bishop, a bishop from the Lutheran Church that wrote the pamphlet. She was also on charges for a tweet she put out a couple of years ago, where she was asking the Lutheran Church, by quoting Romans 1, how it was actively supporting pride parades in Finland, and yet Scripture is quite clear around the nature of sexual relations. That's where it all started. She was hauled to the court for this, and some of you may have heard the podcast that I've done with her. I've had one of the Family Matters with her, and also on RCR. So again, jump onto the Family First website and look up her name, Päivi Räsänen, or just look up Finland. it will appear. But this, guys, is just totally, utterly crazy. But this is exactly what the progressives, the radicals, want. They hate Christianity, and they want to make it a form of hate speech. And Finland has just taken a very disturbing step into that direction. As I say, not only is it standard Christian doctrine around marriage, a man and a woman for life, for the raising of children, standard, but also that it's 20 years old. So you've got to imagine if you're a Finnish person sitting back at the moment going, well, what else did I write, think or say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that some mad activist is going to troll up and then drag you to court like they did to Päivi here. I mean, it is just appalling and deeply, deeply worrying. As I can see people saying, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And then again, and under their war crimes. But this is what we're facing. And I don't know if you recall, J.D. Vance, he's the American vice president last year, was in Europe. It was called the Munich Security Conference. And he actually had a crack at the Europeans for their undermining of the basic Western freedoms, such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And he was, there was lots of tut-tutting from the media and the progressives that seem to run Europe. So he was tut-tutted, but he's right. Vance is right. The West and the likes of Europe are undermining its foundations from within. I mean, let's be blunt, they also have an immigration problem, value systems which are clashing with their own, but they're also undermining themselves through laws like this. And Sam is asking, it must have a statute of limitations and sounds bogus. It's not. It's definitively not bogus. Their statutes around war crimes allowed this to happen. I suspect, Sam, and I better be clear on this because I'm not 100% au fait with Finnish law, I suspect their war crimes legislation probably does not have a statute of limitation, or if it is, it's certainly not 20 years because she's been done in court, and the bishop, whose name I forget, which is unfortunate. But yeah, absolutely nuts. But this is Christians being targeted, Christian belief being targeted, because have you noted around the world, they're not dragging to the courts Buddhists, Taoists, Muslims, or else it's Christians. And I think just we need to be aware of this because there's always the pushes here in New Zealand as well to have hate speech laws, and it's coming if we don't stand up to them, because this is Canada now. They've just passed a hate speech bill. It's still got a few more steps to go. But two things you'll note if you are bored enough to pick up the bill, but this is what we do here at Family First. Firstly, it has a whole range of new groups that they've defined need extra protection from free speech. Just like the Australian situation, the absurdity that they are going to protect people based on sex and also on gender. But as we know from Australia, gender trumps. So men who think they're women get more rights than women themselves. So you'll know the story of Sal Grover, Carolee Smith, and so on. I mean, it's just nuts. The other thing they're doing is removing effectively the religious protections that exist in the law. So put simply, for Canada at the moment, if you're a person of belief and you are speaking truthfully from your belief, you firmly believe in it, and you are basically working off a well-known religious tradition, then you're protected. They're about to remove that. So simply believing in the Christian teachings, for example, that have been held for 2,000 years is no longer going to be a protection for you. And so this, for again, particularly the far left, progressives, certainly the anti-Christians, this is manna from heaven for them, because once this law passes, and it most likely will, people who are expressing a genuine religious belief, and it will be primarily Christians, will be targeted, just like Päivi was. Again, she didn't say anything controversial. She said marriage is between a man and a woman. She said that actually the Lutheran Church in Finland should not be attending pride parades. And here she is, guilty in the Supreme Court for effectively crimes against humanity. And be under no illusions, if New Zealand ever got hate speech laws, simply talking, in fact, like we're talking now, a lot of the topics at Family First talk about abortion, euthanasia, nature of marriage, prostitution, drug use, gender, would see us being hauled before the courts, as would others. And the whole point, of course, of the Päivi Räsänen situation is to send a warning, a chilling warning to others, do not speak out. So, a little bit crazy. More, though, switching back to better news, This was last week. I'm sure Bob would have touched on it. But the IOC, so the International Olympic Committee, has said, look, transgender women, and this headline is wrong, but transgender women, excuse me for a second, transgender women will only be allowed to compete in Olympics in their biological category. That's what the headlines should say. So putting it into two ways that we can perhaps better understand it. Trans women, so these are biological men who think they're women, will no longer be allowed into the women's category of Olympic sport. And that makes, I would have to say, a whole lot of sense, which is brilliant. So, excuse me, I'm just going to get my water because I am losing my voice. So this is a good decision. Biological men who think they're women should not be competing against women in Olympic sports. They shouldn't be competing really against women at all, except in the very, very lowest age groups. In fact, I'm about to do a podcast with New Zealand's strongest man in a few hours. We're going to be talking around this issue. So transgender women, if they want to compete in the Olympics, they still can. They're not banned. They just have to compete in the male section. But of course, they don't want to because we know from so much evidence over and over again that actually you're going to see that they won't win. Transgender women do not win in the men's category, which is one of the key reasons they end up going into the women's category. We think of Laurel Hubbard, for example, or we think the example of that Algerian boxer who was beating the woman from, was it Italy? So this is good news, absolutely, absolute common sense that this is happening. If you're wondering why there's some white appearing over my head on a whole different topic, it is because here in the beautiful Tauranga, the sun is just about to rise over the house, which is out front of me here. So I'm going to start wrapping up, not only because it's going to wash me out in a moment. Actually, I see Lisa's comment, which is far more articulate than me. They still can compete. So this is around the transgender. They can still compete. They just have to compete in the area which is their biological reality. And it's absolutely right and proper, and it's safe, and it keeps the integrity of sport. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. It's almost coming up to 8 o'clock. As always, thank you for joining me. I see hundreds of comments, which is pretty much not an exaggeration. So I need to go and check it out. Just a reminder, we've got Counterculture. This is our new show where our young people speak into the topics of the day. A reminder too that we still have, actually I should play this.
Governments don't care about children. You have to care about your children because they don't give a damn about your children. They care about the GDP. They care about you putting more money into the system. But don't be fooled to believe that they give a damn about your children, because they don't. Governments are in it for as many workers as they can get into the system. They do not care about your children. So if you're going to rely on the government to care about your children, then that is also a fantasy. You have to care about your children. You have to do what's right by your children, in spite of the fact that the government doesn't care about your children.
So that's Erica Commissar. So it's my latest podcast, but amazing to check out. Look, go and check out all the stuff off Family First. We've got so much to watch, read, and listen. But I'm going to step away because I'm about to be blinded by the light, because I did not anticipate we would have so much light pouring through at this time. Have a wonderful day, guys. See you on Thursday.